Kelly, Brad, and I are moving in with you for a while, just until we get back on our feet. Those were the first words out of my younger sister's mouth when I opened my front door on a Tuesday morning. She wasn't asking. She was telling me. Behind her stood Brad, her husband of 3 months, loading boxes from their car. They had already started unpacking before I even knew they were coming. I'm 38 years old. For the past 15 years, I worked as a nurse at Portland General Hospital, pulling double shifts, saving every dollar I could while living in a cramped studio apartment. 6 months ago, my grandmother passed away and left me her house. Not Kelly, me. The house was a modest 3-bedroom craftsman in a quiet neighborhood in southeast Portland. Nothing fancy, but it was mine, fully paid off. My grandmother's will was crystal clear about that. Kelly had always been Grandma's favorite, or so everyone thought. She was the fun one, the spontaneous one, the one who called Grandma every week and visited every holiday with flowers and wine. I was the responsible one, the boring one who worked weekends and couldn't always make it to family dinners. So when Grandma left the house to me, Kelly was shocked. Our mother was shocked. Even I was shocked. But Grandma's lawyer explained it to me privately. Your sister is wonderful, but she's never been stable. You've worked hard. You've been responsible. You deserve security. This house is your security. Don't let anyone take it from you. I moved in 3 months ago, painted the walls, bought new furniture, turned the smallest bedroom into an office where I could finally work on my nursing degree advancement courses in peace. For the first time in my adult life, I had space. I had quiet. I had something that was truly mine. And now Kelly was standing in my doorway with her husband and their belongings, telling me they were moving in. I should have said no right then. I should have told her this wasn't a good time, that she needed to ask first, that this was my house and I got to decide who lived here. But I didn't, because Kelly was my sister. Because she'd been through a rough patch after losing her job at the marketing firm. Because family helps family. That's what we'd been taught our whole lives. So I stepped aside and let them in. Brad barely acknowledged me as he carried boxes through my front door. He was a tall guy with a gym membership he talked about constantly and a collection of cryptocurrency investments that had supposedly made him rich, though he was somehow always broke. Kelly had met him at some networking event 4 months ago and married him 8 weeks later. None of us really knew him. Where should we put our stuff? Kelly asked, already walking toward the bedrooms without waiting for an answer. I followed her. The guest room, I said. That's the only room available. Kelly opened the door to what had been Grandma's master bedroom. This one's bigger, she said. We'll take this one. Kelly, that's my room. She turned to look at me with that expression she'd perfected over the years. Half smile, half confusion, as if I were being unreasonable. Come on, Diane. You don't need all this space. The other bedroom is plenty big for one person. Brad and I need room for our things. I wanted to argue. I wanted to tell her that I'd spent weeks choosing the perfect comforter for that bed, arranging my books on those shelves, hanging my clothes in that closet. But Brad was already carrying boxes past me into the room, and Kelly was pulling clothes out of a suitcase, and somehow in less than 10 minutes, my bedroom was no longer mine. I moved my things into the smaller bedroom that afternoon while Kelly and Brad settled into the master. I told myself it was temporary, just a few weeks until they got back on their feet. I could handle a few weeks. That first night, I made dinner. Chicken stir-fry with vegetables, enough for 3 people. Kelly and Brad came to the table but barely touched the food. Do you have any red meat? Brad asked. I don't really do the whole vegetable thing. I can pick some up tomorrow, I said. Kelly pushed her plate away. Actually, Diane, Brad and I are doing keto now. High fat, low carb. This won't work for us. I stared at the meal I'd spent an hour preparing. Okay, I can try to make keto-friendly meals. Kelly smiled. Or we could just do our own grocery shopping. Keep our food separate. It'll be easier that way. The next morning, I woke up early for my shift at the hospital. When I went to the kitchen to make coffee, I found that my coffee maker had been moved to a different counter. Kelly's expensive espresso machine now sat in its place. I moved it back and made my coffee. When I returned that evening, the coffee maker was in the garage. The espresso machine was back on the counter with a note. Please don't move our things. Small things started changing. My kitchen towels were replaced with Kelly's. My living room throw pillows disappeared, replaced with modern geometric ones I'd never seen before. My family photos came down from the hallway walls. Brad hung up his collection of vintage beer signs instead. Every time I mentioned something, Kelly had the same response. "We're just trying to make the space feel more like home. You don't mind, do you? We're family." And because we were family, I swallowed my discomfort and said nothing. 3 days after they moved in, I came home from a 12-hour shift to find them rearranging my living room furniture. The couch I'd saved for months to buy was pushed against a different wall. Grandma's rocking chair, the one she'd had since I was a child, was gone. "Where's the rocking chair?" I asked. Kelly barely looked up from her phone. "We put it in the basement. It didn't really fit the aesthetic we're going for." "That was Grandma's chair." "I know," she said, finally meeting my eyes. "But Diane, this house needs updating. Grandma had great taste for her generation, but it's 2024. We're helping you modernize." "I didn't ask you to modernize anything. This is my house." Brad spoke for the first time. "Hey, we're just trying to help. No need to get defensive." I went to my new bedroom and closed the door. I sat on the edge of the bed, feeling my hands shake with anger I couldn't quite express. This was my house. Why was I the one hiding in a bedroom? I called my best friend Michelle that night. She'd been my roommate in nursing school, had known me for 15 years, and was the only person who ever told me the truth without sugarcoating it. "Diane," she said after I explained everything, "you need to tell them to leave. Now. Before this gets worse." "They're family," I replied. "Kelly's going through a hard time. So she gets to take over your house? The house your grandmother left to you? It's just temporary." Michelle was quiet for a moment. "Honey, people who respect you don't need to be reminded that it's your house. They just know. And they act accordingly." Her words stayed with me that night. People who respect you don't need to be reminded. The next morning was Saturday. I didn't have work. I woke up to voices in the kitchen. Kelly and Brad were on speakerphone with someone. "Yeah, it's a great location," Kelly was saying. "Southeast Portland, quiet neighborhood, 3 bedrooms. Once we get the title sorted out, it should sell pretty quickly." I froze in the hallway. "How much do you think we can get?" Brad asked. A woman's voice came through the speaker. "Based on recent sales in that area, probably 450 to 500,000, maybe more if you do some updates first." My heart started pounding. They were talking about my house. My house. "Perfect," Kelly said. "We're thinking of listing in about 2 months. Just need to handle some paperwork first." I backed away slowly, went to my room, and closed the door as quietly as I could. Then I sat on the bed and tried to process what I'd just heard. They were planning to sell my house, my grandmother's house, the house that was legally mine, with my name on the deed, with the will that explicitly stated it was mine. How? I grabbed my laptop and called Michelle again. "They're planning to sell the house," I said as soon as she answered. "They can't sell your house, Diane. It's your house." "I know that. But they're talking to a real estate agent. They're talking about getting the title sorted out. What does that even mean?" Michelle was quiet. "You need to call a lawyer. Now. Today." I spent the next hour searching for attorneys. I finally found Sarah Chen, a real estate lawyer whose office was just 20 minutes away and who could see me Monday morning. That weekend felt like the longest of my life. I watched Kelly and Brad move through my house as if they owned it. Saturday afternoon, a contractor came by. Brad walked him through the house, pointing out walls he wanted to knock down, counters he wanted to replace. "This is load-bearing," the contractor said, pointing to a wall between the kitchen and dining room. "Can't remove it without serious structural work." "How much?" Brad asked. "At least 30 grand, maybe more." "Do it," Brad said. "We need an open concept." After the contractor left, I confronted them. "You can't make structural changes to my house," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Kelly looked at me with surprise. "We're just getting estimates. No harm in that." "You're planning renovations. You're planning to sell. I heard you on the phone with a real estate agent." Something shifted in Kelly's expression. The warm, sisterly smile disappeared, replaced by something harder. "Okay," she said. "Since you clearly eavesdropped on a private conversation, let's talk about this. Diane, this house is too big for just you. You don't need 3 bedrooms. You don't need this much yard space. You're at the hospital all the time anyway. It makes sense to sell it, split the money, and we can all buy places that actually fit our needs. Split the money? I repeated. Kelly, Grandma left this house to me. Not you. Me. Brad stepped forward. That's actually something we wanted to discuss. Kelly's been looking into Oregon inheritance law. When property is left to one sibling but the deceased clearly had a relationship with both children, the excluded sibling can contest the will under certain circumstances. This isn't your conversation, I said to Brad. He held up his hands. Just trying to help. Kelly touched my arm. Diane, I know you think Grandma wanted you to have the house, but she was 92. She was confused at the end. She probably didn't understand what she was signing. We could contest the will, make this a big legal mess, or we could handle it as a family. Sell the house, split the proceeds, everyone wins. I pulled my arm away. Grandma wasn't confused. She was sharp until the very end. And she left me this house because she wanted me to have it. Kelly's eyes narrowed. You always were her favorite when it mattered. The boring, responsible one. Never mind that I was the one who actually spent time with her. I spent time with her too. I worked. Right. You worked. You were always working. Too busy to visit, too busy to call. But when there was a house to inherit, suddenly you're available. Her words stung because there was truth in them. I had worked constantly. I had missed holidays. But I'd been building a life, building a career, trying to create stability. I'm not selling this house, I said quietly, and you need to leave. Kelly laughed. Leave? Diane, we just moved in. We signed a rental agreement. What rental agreement? Brad pulled out his phone and showed me a document. It was a lease agreement for this address, dated 1 week ago, signed by both him and Kelly. The landlord's signature was a scribble I couldn't read. You forged this, I said. Prove it, Brad replied. That's when I knew this wasn't just about a place to stay. This was a plan. They had been planning this before they even showed up at my door. I need you to leave, I repeated. Now, Kelly crossed her arms. We have a legal right to be here. We have a lease. If you try to force us out, we'll call the police and show them this agreement. Then we'll sue you for illegal eviction. Is that really what you want? I didn't sleep that night. I lay in the small bedroom that used to be Grandma's sewing room, staring at the ceiling, trying to figure out how this had happened. How had I gone from finally having my own space to being pushed out of my own house in less than a week? Monday morning couldn't come fast enough. I called in sick to work, something I never did, and drove to Sarah Chen's office. Sarah was a woman in her 50s with kind eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. She listened to my entire story without interrupting. When I finished, she leaned back in her chair. First thing, she said, that lease agreement is worthless. You own this house. You didn't sign a lease with them. The signature is forged. Even if they try to use it, it won't hold up in court. But they're threatening to sue me if I kick them out. Let them threaten. Sarah pulled out a legal pad. Here's what we're going to do. First, I'm going to draft an eviction notice. Oregon law requires 3 days' notice for non-payment of rent. But since they're not tenants, we'll give them 7 days as a courtesy. That protects you legally. Second, we're going to file a police report about the forged lease. Third, I need you to document everything. Every conversation, every change they make to the house, every threat they make. Take photos. Record conversations if Oregon is a one-party consent state, which it is, by the way. What if they don't leave? Then we get law enforcement involved. This is your property. You have rights. I left Sarah's office feeling something I hadn't felt in days. Hope. Not happiness, not relief, but hope that maybe I could fix this. That afternoon, I returned home to find Kelly and Brad sitting at my dining room table with papers spread everywhere. Oh, good. You're here, Kelly said. We need you to sign some things. What things? Brad pushed a stack of papers toward me. Just some documents transferring the property deed into a family trust. It'll protect the house legally, make it easier when we sell. I didn't touch the papers. I'm not signing anything. Kelly's voice hardened. Diane, we're trying to do this the easy way. Don't make it difficult. I pulled out my phone and took a picture of the documents on the table. What are you doing? Brad demanded. Documenting. I took another photo. And for the record, I met with a lawyer this morning. You have 7 days to leave my house. Kelly stood up. You can't kick us out. We have a lease. No, you have a forged document. My lawyer is filing a police report about it today. For the first time, I saw fear flash across Kelly's face. Then it was replaced by anger. You're going to call the cops on your own sister? Over a house? Yes, I said. Over my house. The house Grandma left to me. The house you're trying to steal. Brad stepped toward me. We're not stealing anything. We're trying to help you understand that you don't deserve this house just because some confused old woman signed a paper. I met his eyes. Get out of my face. You have 7 days. If you're not gone by then, the sheriff will remove you. And that forged lease? That's a crime. So choose carefully what you do next. I went to my room, locked the door, and called Michelle. I did it, I told her. I told them to leave. She let out a breath. I'm proud of you. My hands were shaking. They're not going to leave quietly. Probably not. But you did the right thing. The next few days were hell. Kelly and Brad stopped pretending to be civil. They blasted music at all hours. They invited friends over who parked in my driveway. They left messes everywhere. They were making my life miserable on purpose. On day 3, my mother called. Diane, what is going on? Kelly called me crying, saying you're kicking her out over some family disagreement. Mom, they're trying to steal my house. They forged a lease. They're planning to sell it without my permission. Kelly says that's not true. She says you're being paranoid. I have recordings, Mom. I have documents. This isn't paranoia. My mother sighed. Can't you two just work this out? She's your sister. She can be my sister somewhere else, not in my house. My mother hung up disappointed in me. I knew the rest of the family would be calling soon. They did. Aunts, uncles, cousins, all with the same message. Family doesn't kick family out. You're being selfish. The house is too big for just you anyway. Kelly needs help. None of them asked for my side of the story. None of them wanted to see the forged documents or hear the recordings. They had already decided I was the villain. On day 5, I came home from work to find that someone had changed the locks. My key didn't work. I called Sarah immediately. They changed the locks on my own house. Call the police, she said. Right now. That's illegal. I stood on my own front porch and called 911. When the officers arrived, I showed them my deed, my ID, everything that proved this was my house. Brad answered the door with the forged lease. The officers looked at both documents. Ma'am, one of them said to me, we can't determine who has legal right to be here. This is a civil matter. You'll need to resolve it in court. But it's my house, I said. My name is on the deed. The officer was sympathetic. I understand, but they have a lease agreement, even if you say it's forged. We can't forcibly remove them without a court order. You need to go through the eviction process. I stood on my porch, locked out of my own house, and felt completely helpless. Sarah filed an emergency motion the next morning. The judge scheduled a hearing for 2 days later. Those 2 days, I stayed at Michelle's apartment. I couldn't be near that house, couldn't stand the thought of Kelly and Brad inside it, going through my things, sleeping in my bed, living my life. The court hearing was brief. Sarah presented the deed with my name. She presented my grandmother's will. She presented the forged lease with its fake signature. She presented photos of Brad hanging beer signs over my family photos. She presented the recording of Kelly talking to the real estate agent about selling my house. Kelly and Brad's public defender tried to argue that they had been invited to stay, that this was a family dispute, that I was being vindictive. The judge looked at the evidence and made her ruling. The lease is clearly forged. The property belongs to Miss Diane Thompson, per the deceased's will. Mr. and Mrs. Bradley have 24 hours to vacate the premises, or they will be removed by law enforcement. Furthermore, I'm ordering them to return all keys and to pay Miss Thompson for the cost of changing the locks they illegally changed. Kelly stood up. This isn't fair. That house should be split between us. The judge cut her off. The deceased had the right to distribute her property as she saw fit. This court will not overturn a valid will simply because you disagree with it. 24 hours. They were gone within 12 hours. They took everything they had brought, plus a few things that were mine that I only noticed later. A set of dishes, some towels, small acts of petty theft, but they were gone. I stood in my house after they left. It was a mess. There were holes in the walls where Brad had hung things, scratches on the hardwood floors. My bedroom still had their things in it, their scent, their presence. I spent the next week cleaning everything. I scrubbed every surface. I patched every hole. I repainted the walls. I bought new bedding. I took Grandma's rocking chair out of the basement and put it back in the living room where it belonged. Slowly, the house started feeling like mine again. My mother called 2 weeks later. Your sister had to move into a tiny apartment. She and Brad are living in 500 square feet. That's unfortunate, I said. Is that all you have to say? Mom, she tried to steal my house. She forged documents. She changed my locks. What do you want me to say? I want you to forgive her, to help her. She's your sister. I love Kelly, I said. But I won't let her destroy me to save herself. That's not what love is supposed to be. My mother hasn't called since then. Some of my aunts and uncles have stopped speaking to me. I'm the selfish one in the family now. The one who chose a house over her sister. But Michelle still calls every day. My coworkers still invite me to happy hour. I joined a book club with women from my neighborhood. I'm making new friends, building a life that's actually mine. And every morning, I wake up in my house. The house my grandmother left me. The house I fought for. The house where I finally learned that loving someone doesn't mean letting them take everything from you. Last month, I got a text from Kelly. Just one line. I hope you're happy in your big empty house. I looked around at my living room, at Grandma's rocking chair, at the bookshelf I built myself, at the photos of my real friends on the walls, at the life I was building day by day. I typed back, I am, and I meant it.